All right, welcome back to episode 50 of Defeating Weekly. I'm your host, Craig Olson. Super excited this week as not only are we celebrating episode 50, which I feel is a huge accomplishment, but we've got our first guest of 2023, Eric Allen, phenomenal guy that I've just started kind of growing in a relationship with and looking forward to continue to build that relationship and connection. Eric's an awesome dude. A little bit background with him. He came from a broken home, was jailed at 18, bankrupt at 21. He was a drug addict, but now sober for 17 plus years, married for 18 years. That's awesome. He is also the host of the Eric Allen Show, which is great. You guys need to check it out. He is a John Maxwell coach and helping entrepreneurs get to be known and noticed by others. So Eric, I want to thank you for joining us and super excited for you to share with our listeners.
Man, Craig, that was a heck of an intro, dude. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, dude. And congratulations on episode 50, man. I've been doing this podcast thing for a while now. And the statistics that I've read online is like 90% of podcasters never make it to episode 50. And then after episode 50, 90% never make it to episode 100, man. So keep it up, dude. Congratulations, man.
Awesome. Appreciate it. All right. So just as always, trying to keep these videos short and sweet for you guys to take and go. Eric's got some great information for us. The topic he is an expert in my opinion, and I'm sure he would say he's still learning, but still awesome. And the topic this week is starting new journeys. So Eric, I know you've got your very successful podcast, you know, the Eric Allen Show. I've listened to a lot of them and really enjoy them. So
thank you.
You guys need to check them out. I know at some point though, you were new to that journey and kind of get started. So kind of what were your steps to being able to move forward and get that podcast kind of up and going?
Man, it was all a test for me. I had an MMA apparel company in 2012. In 2015, I tried to sell it. It didn't sell. And then I was trying to figure out, what do I do now? And then I was like, well, maybe I can just ask fighters why they want to get in a cage to get punched in the face. That was literally the first question that I thought about.
Okay.
And I was working out of a walk-in closet in my house because we had no other room. I had bad microphone, bad lights, didn't have a good camera. I was using the camera on my laptop, at the time, and was just interviewing guys via like an app called Ecamm on my Mac or via Skype. And then I was uploading that to YouTube. And then I was sharing that link out to Facebook and calling it my podcast. And I did that for almost 100 episodes. And then somebody said, well, how do I listen to it on Apple? And I was like, what the hell is that? I had no idea that Apple Podcasts or Spotify or any of that existed. And I was like, I am missing a ton of people right now. So I just started researching, watching YouTube videos and craziness. So it's like trying to figure out how can I actually make this a podcast instead of just doing this unedited sort of thing. And so just started deep diving into it, months of research and watching videos and typing up things, and finally got it all squared away and launched a second podcast, the Eric Allen Show, in 2019 after I came across Ed Mylett online and just really aligned with his values and beliefs. And that's what inspired me to start that show. And so ran both shows up into through the end of 2021. And then now I just focus on the Eric Allen Show, which focuses on, like you said, entrepreneurs, world changers, and success-minded people. And, it's really just a testing game. If anyone's trying to get into podcasting, you got to test a lot of stuff, see what works, and don't get frustrated with how your first episode looks or sounds, because as you go, you're going to get better and better. The other thing that I would say as podcasters is don't look at the numbers. I never looked at how many downloads I had for 4 years in. I just didn't care. I was doing podcasting because I loved it. Right. So I would say, that journey for me started in a walk-in closet. And here we are ranked in the top 2.5% globally now.
That's awesome. No, it's kind of funny you mentioned kind of those steps, because I'm kind of been going through those steps right now. And this wasn't part of the questions, but quick question for you. Have you ever looked back at your initial podcast recently and just being able to see the difference?
Not recently, but I did look on it. I did watch it like a couple years back, like probably 4 years in. I was like, I wonder what the first one looked like. Cause I remembered it was just cringy, right? Like, I had to go back and check it out, but yeah, lots of improvements, and I've upgraded, my microphone 4 times and my camera 4 times and the lighting. And like, I've moved my studio 4 times in the houses, right? Like it's part of the game, man. And I'm in it for the long haul, man. I'm not planning on going anywhere. I love podcasting and connecting with people. And it's that relationships that expand from podcasting. I was a guest on Bradley's podcast, Dropping Bombs, in 2021. And when I went down to meet with him, he was like, dude, listen, Relationships is the new currency. And that's what podcasting does. It builds relationships, it builds those networks. And man, I would just say like everybody should do a podcast, you know?
I've enjoyed it, so that's awesome. So, next question I kind of had for you is, what are some obstacles that you came across when you kind of started this new journey, and kind of what were the steps you did to kind of be able to overcome those?
Lots of failing, lots of like forgetting to hit the record button. You know, those type of moments, not looking into the camera. You know, a funny story. The day that I spoke to Ken Shamrock, I spoke to Ed Milet 2 hours later in the same day. And it was mind blowing for me on that day. But I'm having this conversation with Ken Shamrock, and we're doing this app on Ecamm, right, on my Mac, right? And essentially you can record via FaceTime. So he's FaceTiming me, and I got him on, and he keeps getting these texts. And every time he gets a text, it turns off my recorder. And so I'm like, the first time I was like, oh, Ken, I'm really sorry, dude. My recorder turned off. I'm going to turn it back on. He's like, cool, no problem. I turn it on. And then 7 minutes in, I look down, my recorder is turned off. I have no idea to stop. And I'm too embarrassed to say anything to him. I'm like, all right, this is just gonna be a conversation between Ken and I'm never gonna release this thing. And so I did. I had this full interview, awesome conversation with Ken Shamrock, and didn't record any of it. And then his team reached out and was like, hey, how'd it go? And I was like, oh, it went good. For some reason, like he kept getting texts. And I think the platform I was using, it kind of kept kicking his recorder off. And so I'm really sorry, I won't be able to use anything. And they said, cool, let's just book him for another day. And I was like, what? So I got him on a second time and booked him, and we recorded. It was great. And then that went so well that he came back on my show a year and a half later to talk about, you know, his next adventure. But I was so nervous after that first time with Ken that when I talked to Ed, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm double checking stuff. I'm like, don't, please, Ed, please, God, just hope this not to like freak out when I'm talking to Ed Milet on my show.
For sure. That would be very easy to freak out talking to him. His stuff's awesome.
Totally.
Awesome. Well, yeah. So kind of one of the big things with Defeating Weekly is we try giving people kind of 3 action steps that they can quickly be able to incorporate into their lives to work towards whatever the topic is of this week. So you got kind of 3 quick action steps you think people could use to help them when they start in on a new journey?
Stack the wins, man. You know, I'm 43 years old. It's a goal of mine to wake up every day. So if I wake up, that's goal number 1. And I go, man, that's win number 1, right? And I jump out of bed, I make my bed. There's 2 wins in 15 seconds. My brain's already going, yep, we're stacking wins. Here we go, right? I use a book. I literally every single day, I write down my goals, my affirmations, my to-dos. Every single morning, I repeat this thing. This whole book is filled with the exact same stuff, right? Of course, I'm updating it, but every single day, write down your goals, write down your affirmations, write down what you're good at, right? Stack wins, write that stuff down. Stay focused, right? Schedule it on your calendar to pursue your dreams, right? I wake up at 4 a.m. 6 days a week, knowing that I have to go to a full-time job. But, you know, people are like, why do you wake up so early? Well, it's because my desire to be successful is bigger than my desire to sleep. And so once I do that, those 3 things, stack wins, right, and get up early so I'm not eating at a family time, that's what helps me get onto this journey.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Those are great. I'm definitely going to incorporate some of those into my life. And then one of the other big things we do is kind of a favorite quote that kind of helps fit what you do. And I know you've already talked a little bit about Ed, but you want to share that quote because I think that's awesome.
Yeah, you know, I mean, like you talked about earlier, I came from the broken home, came from the craziness, right? The drug addict. And after I came across Ed, and he said a quote, and he said, man, life happens for you, not to you. And when I realized that, like actually like more than read it, but actually went, man, that's true for me. Like I'm the strong person today because of the crap that I went through. Right. I made a lot of mistakes. I have a lot of regrets about that stuff, but I'm the person that I am today because I had to go through that. And so, man, that quote, you know, life happens for you, not to you. That's probably one of my favorite quotes.
That's awesome. That's great. Eric, once again, I just want to say I appreciate you being on with me today, man. This is great. It's exciting that it worked out that you are on my 50th episode and getting to see what you've done and, you know, kind of helping guide me as I'm moving forward. I really want to appreciate it. I want people to be able to check out your stuff. So where can people go to find your stuff that you've presented out there and follow you and maybe contact you if they have any questions?
Yeah, I appreciate it. EricAllenMedia.com. It's ErikAllen, ErikAllenMedia.com. You can see all my posts on there. You can see I have a ton of free resources. I have some paid, but I have a lot of free resources on there as well. If you're interested in podcasting. I coach people on how to launch and start and run a podcast. You can do a self-service, or you can do a live coaching with me, and tons of free stuff on there. I tend to be mostly on Instagram. So if you're on Instagram, it's just Eric G. Allen. And I respond to every comment and every DM. So love connect with people. If you're listening to this and want to connect, man, reach out.
That's awesome. Awesome. And once again, Eric, thank you. And to those of you listening, thank you for continuing to listen. I hope you guys have a great day and defeat the week. Thank you.
Come on, man. Thank you.